are live. Fight Commentary Breakdowns here. I got a really special guest. This is the first audience member from Facebook. He actually discovered Fight Commentary Breakdowns from Facebook, not YouTube. And he is a very awesome viewer. He sends me a lot of cool stuff. His name is Ryan. And I wanted to bring him on to talk martial arts. Ryan is primarily a boxer, but he's picked up a lot of stuff from training with lots of different people. So welcome to the show, Ryan.
Hey.
Tell me about, how did you find Fight Commentary Breakdowns?
I don't know if it was just suggested to me on Facebook or if one of my friends had shared something from you. I just happened to stumble upon you by chance, and I got a good kick out of what I saw, and I went to check out your page, and yeah, I saw how cool it was and had to follow it.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome, man. That's how most of these stories happen. So tell me about your martial arts journey. How did you discover boxing? Did you discover anything before boxing?
Well, before that, it's funny. I used to not really take take boxing that seriously. Because I grew up, watching a lot of kung fu movies and stuff like that. I was into all the, Jet Li or, whatever, and still, so, you don't really see a lot of, you don't see boxing in those the action movies and stuff like that. You see, other stuff. As a kid, I thought I was, when I was a little kid, I thought I was going to grow up and go become a ninja. I told my grandpa that, and he asked me, "What's a ninja?" And I didn't even know how to explain it to him because, I was kind of blown away by the fact that he would even have to ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought everything, but so anyway, well, the way I got into the boxing gym that I went to was a friend of mine from church actually had told me about it, and I was needing something to get into to keep me out of trouble for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And something healthier than sitting at home playing video games and stuff. So
nice.
He had told me he was going to this gym and told me to come check it out, and so I did, and it clicked real good with everybody there, and I stuck with it and found out that there was actually a lot more to it than I had ever given credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, other than that, prior to that, I had always I never gone to any actual dojo or gym or anything like that where there was any formal training, but I had picked up a lot of things over the years from different people that have friends and family members and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. It's funny.
One of my
people who haven't discovered boxing yet, it's exactly like that. They look at boxing, they think, oh, it's just punching. But then once you start training in boxing, you're like, whoa, there is so much.
There's way more to it. Yeah, people have no idea. One time I had mentioned about somebody, I mentioned about somebody who in one of the videos how basically half the people from my boxing gym could kick this guy's ass, and somebody said something about, until they get kicked in the leg, it's you think we don't train our legs or anything. It's we use you use everything, just not in the same way.
Yeah, and you also don't realize all the footwork and stuff like that. A punch just doesn't start from here; it starts from the ground, right. And you don't realize that right. until it's you train and you realize, wow, there's so much to this.
Right. Yeah, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so tell me about your first class. If you remember that first class, how did it feel?
Well, the first time I went in, it was just a few of us there. It was me, the coach's stepson, and I think just a couple other guys who had shown up that day, and we just did drills. But I remember getting pretty exhausted. I was told it would be a good workout, and I expected that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't I didn't learn too much my first day,
Mm-hmm.
but within a week I started catching on that there was quite a bit more to it.
Mm-hmm. And what were some things you kind of had trouble with that you kind of like got good at, etc.?
Well, I had spent I had spent several years being just lazy and not taking care of myself. So my cardio was just horrible when I went in there, and it was embarrassingly difficult to keep up at times.
Mm-hmm.
The way this guy he runs his training sessions, a lot of times everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, and you're all expected to keep up with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if you don't keep up, he will give you a hard time about it too. He'll call you right out in front of everybody, and in a humorous way for everybody but you when you're the one. Yeah.
Exactly. So, what other kind of stuff have you kind of stumbled on as you were training boxing?
Well, you mean before or like just
Yeah, before and during. As you've been training in boxing, did you stumble on any other martial arts while you were doing that?
Well, during boxing, thing is, there actually a lot of the people that came in, at least half of them did have other backgrounds. A couple of them had come from a defunct kickboxing gym,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them had backgrounds. Some of them have backgrounds in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and probably some other stuff that I may or may not know about. I know that the number one guy there, he's got the defunct kickboxing gym. They also taught some boxing and karate,
Mm-hmm.
and so he'd come from there, and like a couple of the other guys did. So he had all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I see.
so, and there were nights where we'd have just hangout sessions and stuff too after training, and some of us would go roll around on the mats and whatnot, and just exchange things, have a good time.
Exactly. Wow. Once this madness is over, what is your plan for martial arts? Do you want to keep doing what you're doing, or do you want to expand potentially?
Well, I haven't even honestly trained in the past over a year, probably over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and basically, where I'm at right now in my life, I'm more focused on trying to just scrape by, get things paid, take care of my financial stuff, and then somewhere along the way, if I keep telling myself somewhere along the way I'm going to start training again, but
Makes sense.
just
Cool. Is there any topic within martial arts or MMA or any combat sport that really appeal to you, or like you always follow?
Well, I like watching UFC matches, although I think it'd be kind of cool if they're a little more like the old school ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't watch a lot of TV. I haven't. I basically like to watch I like to watch most combat sports, but sometimes I'm trying to think here of an example of something I don't really care to watch in that regard. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's real and they don't like overstuff something with so many rules that they ruin the combat factor in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see my channel both on Facebook and YouTube. We we look at a lot of like the fake martial arts, the funny martial arts, and all that. Is that something that always gets you mind boggled? All the amount of this
Oh,
stuff?
it blows my mind to know that there are people who will actually pay to go into one of those places
Yeah, yeah.
and be, I don't even know what word to use. I mean, fooled seems like too, light of a term.
Hmm.
I mean, how stupid can you be?
Yeah.
Well, I've commented before. I've actually considered the idea, like, if I had the resources, I'd be half tempted to open up my own thing like that. And, it'd be funny if I could even get away with naming it McDojo.
Oh, dude, that would be the ultimate kind of like awesome parody. Like, you're like, I know what I am, but you guys can come and have fun and support this joke of an idea and support me.
But, like, even like if I could try to teach some bullshido, I could make some crap up, and there'd be idiot. As long as if I'm in a populated enough area, there's going to be idiots
Yeah,
dumb enough to pay me
yeah,
for it.
totally.
Why not? If they want to throw their money away. But when it comes down to, I'm actually an honest person, so I wouldn't really do that.
Yeah,
But like if I could come up with a way to just do it openly and make actually do it in a fun way like you had just said, that would be kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah, but but the thought of it, I always laugh at it. Oh yeah, I could just
yeah. I feel
come
you.
up McDojo. I'm the top ramen of McDojo.
Dude, I think that would be kind of funny to like I that's such an interesting idea. Just like call your that could even be like a Facebook page or a YouTube page. Just call it McDojo. So kind of like going along the Master Ken type of Enter the Dojo show type of vibe. But like
Right? I teach bullshido.
yeah, exactly. But like Master Ken doesn't teach Bushido, right? He teaches Amir Dote or whatever. Well, like just like completely just like yeah, my channel or my dojo's called McDojo, and I teach Bushido. That could be kind of like a funny little thing.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, that's crazy, man.
See ads left and right now on Facebook all over the place for all these self-defense courses and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything when you're looking at this stuff, if you've actually had any history of being in fights with people, this is a bunch of crap they're
Yeah,
selling.
yeah, exactly. Tell me about that. Like, were you one of those people who got into a lot of fights when you were younger?
Yeah, I did.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I was one of those too. So like, I know what it feels like to get punched in the face and stuff like that. So it's funny when you see a lot of those self defense courses and stuff like that, and you're just like, these people move obviously like they don't know how explosive and
Right.
crazy a fight is.
Yeah, this is you can tell it's choreographed.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. Tell me about some of those fights you got into when you were younger.
Well, I used to get I used to get picked on as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have to, sometimes I'd have to, get in fights to, try to at least, make it, make the stuff happen less.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't think of any particularly interesting ones off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Just a sec. I'm just doing an interview here. I'll be done shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Did you I've talked to quite a lot of people who've talked about how they were picked on, and most people say that after they started doing martial arts it kind of stopped immediately. Was that kind of your journey, or was that different?
well, um, see, by the time I actually, like by the time I got to my, I'd say mid 20s,
Mm-hmm.
I basically stopped being around people who were so immature that I had to, would have people trying to test me or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And
exactly.
under normal circumstances, I come, my I have a kind of dysfunctional family, at least in certain parts of it. So there have been situations still, but
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, I don't. Yeah. So there's that, and I was in my see here early 30s when I started boxing,
Ah, I see.
but it's still it's still good for you. It feels, it always felt good, even though I'd be physically sore and shit. I'm sorry, sore and stuff going home.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but,
Something I'm always curious is that, so, now we're all kind of inside, and I definitely feel like my productivity, my happiness, etc., is going down because I can't really train. And do you see that in you? Like when you're training, if you remember when you're training versus now, it's like you can just feel your energy levels, everything, your immune system, everything just go down now a little bit.
yeah, I mean, everything, it was, I definitely felt, more like alive and
Yeah.
energetic when I was, you know, when I was training and had a healthy balance of
Yeah.
physical activity and time to rest in between. Now, like my exercise mostly comes from my work, and I'm a seasonal worker.
Mm.
So, wintertime, I'm getting fat and not doing anything. In the summertime, then I'm working, really long days doing backbreaking work, and
Mm.
you know, but there's no real balance then and then.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And that's why I was talking to Icy Mike earlier. That's why I think both Icy Mike and I are in agreement. It's good just to train. Like sometimes don't be too stressed out about like, oh, I have to find the best or I have to do this. Like go to a place that you can have fun. Make sure you're not learning something completely crazy or fake, but like, don't be too stressed out about trying to find the best. Just as long as you get yourself doing something, because not everyone's goal in life and not everyone's meant to be some prize fighter or some like professional fighter. And I think if people just go train and just go explore, it'll make their lives better.
Right. If you're enjoying it, if you're not actually planning, if you're not actually worried about learning something that you're going to have to use in a fighting situation,
Mm-hmm.
and, it doesn't really matter if you don't plan on fighting
Mm.
anybody,
Yeah.
you're not worried about, that, obviously a lot of us do want, it is important to us to at least know how to take care of ourselves against the, average person.
Yeah.
But outside of that, and if you get really good at whatever it is, if it's a mainstream, fighting style, if you get good enough at it, you'll at least be able to take the average person. You doesn't mean you don't necessarily need to be able to take on, a professional fighter
Yeah.
or what. Most people of that caliber are not, out on the street looking to mug you or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. I think that's something so important that even sometimes I need to keep in mind. It's like I like to compare myself to people who are better than me, but sometimes you have to remember, okay, the training I have, it's probably enough for some drunk person or some angry roommate or family member or something like that. It's like, so don't stress out too much and don't like feel like you're a failure if you're not at the level of the most advanced people, right? I think it's easy for people who train martial arts to compare and be like, oh, look at that guy, person, look at how well he does whatever, whether. But it's also like, okay, but take a step back. At least you're training, at least you're learning, and that's the most important.
Yeah,
Do you have kids, right?
I have one.
Does your kid train in martial art? Do you think you're gonna make him train if he or have him train if he hasn't trained yet?
I've tried to get him a little bit interested. I even brought him with me a few times when I was training.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he, I don't think it's really for him. I mean, I would look
Oh,
more into it, but at least at this point, I mean, it's just not, just yeah, I mean, yeah, just not really a fit
yeah,
right now.
yeah, makes sense. I mean, everyone kind of has their time, and
Right.
eventually he or she might get interested or maybe not. It just, yeah, like you said, that's another thing. A lot of parents will like put their kids into certain things. It's like sometimes that's not necessarily a good idea. So I like what you did. It's like, well, I brought him to the boxing gym and he didn't seem interested, so it's okay. Not going to try to force him to do it or whatever.
Right. I don't want to force him to do something like that to where then he doesn't never ends up having a time where he wants to do something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather, try to coax him into it. And if he, and somewhere along the way, if he finds something that, fits, then, I'll encourage him to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, exactly. But I do hope your kid eventually does find some kind of martial art he or she likes, because it's such a helpful thing just from my experience and a lot of people's experiences. But again, like you said, and it's totally okay if the kid doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any like go-to martial arts movies and stuff that you love to show people now that you've trained boxing?
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found a lot of, I haven't tried super hard either, but I haven't found a lot of like good boxing movies, if that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed more fakeness than ever in between having watched videos on your channel and from having trained more and stuff, having trained and actually talked more with people of different backgrounds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more you know, the more you notice a lot of fakeness in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I had, before I trained in boxing, I never would have noticed any of the things that I can notice now if I watch Rocky movies.
Oh.
It actually kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Wow, tell me some of the stuff that you noticed.
The obsession with slip and jab.
Mm-hmm.
Jab. Okay, shut the hell up. You know more than slip and jab, don't you? You're like a heavyweight champion. You know more than that.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, I'd have to look again. I think that sometimes when he's saying that, he's not even doing a slip and jab. Like if you're watching him on a bag or something, he's and just sometimes the way he throws his punches and stuff, it's just not correct.
Yeah.
Like that's very sloppy form.
Yeah. And I think you start seeing it a lot in all kinds of movies, whether MMA movies or anything, any fight scene where they do any kind of punching. Their punches, to make it more dramatic, are always way too telegraphed. And I think it's because it's hard to if you punch right, then probably the camera's not even going to see it well, right? So you have to like chamber it back or do wide looping punches and stuff like that.
Right. Otherwise, they'd have to stick a lot more slow motion
Yeah,
scenes.
exactly. Like every punch would have to be slow-mo to get it seen.
Right.
Wow, yeah. I remember there was this movie that I think it was Jake Gyllenhaal was in. It was called Southpaw. And I remember I hadn't seen a boxing movie for a while, but that was when I saw and like I remember he was doing the Philly shell and stuff like that. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't hear anything good about it, so I haven't even watched it.
Yeah. It's I mean it's like a generic kind of movie. But I that was the first time I saw the Philly shell in film, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I saw Southpaw in 2015. So, but that Philly shell thing I still remembered. And then when I saw Mayweather doing it, I was like, "Oh, dude!" Because I was one of those. I was into kung fu. I was into MMA before I was into boxing. So like I didn't know of any boxing legends, and then I started watching boxing more, and it's just like I could go back to Rocky, those movies, and then the Three Stooges surprisingly had a bunch of like boxing episodes, and that was funny too because you don't watch that for any boxing knowledge, but I think it would be a very funny fight commentary episode to watch some of the Three Stooges episodes with boxing and critique Curly's boxing or something like that.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of kung fu, when I was a kid, I used to love David Carradine kung fu. As a kid, I liked The Legend Continues, and then as an adult, I watched the original kung fu series. And I don't know how many people realize that David Carradine is actually like a really fake martial artist.
I believe that.
And the whole idea for the original Kung Fu TV series was basically, if you watch old Bruce Lee interviews,
Hmm.
they stole the idea from Bruce
Yeah,
Lee.
yeah,
And he, instead of using an actual like legit kung fu guy for the role, they put this stoned like guy who knows nothing
yeah,
in there and
yeah,
just talks really slow. Doesn't even look,
yeah. And he talks with like a lisp. Like his way of talking isn't even clear.
he would just talk weird and slow, and that somehow passed him off as like this wizened kung fu guy,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's hilarious kung fu cinema. Like you even watch a lot of old kung fu cinema from Hong Kong and it's not even good. Like the moves are so choreographed, they don't even look like they're fighting. They look like, "Oh, yeah, huh, 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 huh. I'm spinning to reach my next move."
The really old kung fu movies, those are just, to me, that's just comedy.
Yeah, yeah, it
That
literally is comedy.
it's very artistic comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's well done, you know, but it's funny. And a lot of the script with those voices that they have overdubbed, that's done by people. They're not actually translating the words of the movie.
Yeah.
They have no idea what these people are saying,
Yeah.
so they're just like ad-libbing whatever they think of
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
might match what they're watching.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I've seen similar stuff when like American movies get dubbed into Chinese, especially if it's like second tier, third tier dubbing. So not like so there's different versions that come out, right? And then like the some of the dubbing's so bad, like the emotions, the tonality's not even correct for the scene. Oh my god. So I've seen it both ways. Like American movies get dubbed badly into Chinese, and of course we've all seen Chinese movies, Japanese movies, etc. get dubbed really badly into English. Yeah, it's the joys, man. The joys of like martial arts, whether for entertainment or training or self defense or whatever.
Yeah, I prefer subtitles over the lousy translations,
Yeah.
that went audio translations.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Totally. It's something about I watched some movie that I've never seen in the original language before. I forgot what movie, but it just sounded so much better. It's crazy. Like I liked it in its original like dubbing, right? But once you see it in its like real language, you're like, whoa, dude, what the?
I don't know if you've ever watched The Protector, Tony Jaa,
Yes,
but
I've seen that, but only the dub version, I think.
okay. See, I have both. Best Buy was still in the process of closing down a lot of their stores,
Hmm.
and I went into one that was closing down, and I bought it there, and got both the international version and the American theatrical version.
Hmm.
I watched the unrated international version first.
Uh-huh.
That's way better, and it
Wow.
ruined the theatrical version. In the U.S. version, they actually changed the music for some of the scenes. Even
Oh,
yeah, it's like, yeah, they changed more. They didn't just cut parts out. They actually, yeah, they changed some of the scenes.
wow.
Yeah, anyway, at least the music in them. So there's that.
Wow.
But yeah,
I've
I
had a
thought.
similar experience too with a movie. There's this movie called Black Mask. It's a Jet Li movie where there's like 10 different versions that came out of Hong Kong, and every version cuts something or adds something or has different music, or it's like I don't even know if I've seen the actual director's cut or whoever, because I've seen like 3 different versions of it.
They're just trying to milk every penny they
Yeah.
can out of that flick.
Yeah. And it was a good one, man. It's like very gothic. It's like a very weirdly gothic movie, but the action sequences were amazing. Wow.
Yeah, the Protector and the Ong Bak movies, they got me more interested in Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've come to find out from reading that Tony Jaa, he's more of a gymnast than an actual Muay Thai.
Yeah, exactly. The Muay Thai he does on camera was almost like parkour Muay Thai, like lots of really cool flips and stuff. But like you look at since Muay Thai's become so popular, you look at how those guys fight. Those guys, solid base, solid basics, just very tough, right? You can hit them like 100 times as long as you don't hit like the jaw or whatever. Those guys can take hits like crazy.
I'll sit with my wife watching a movie like that, and I'll just like out loud start counting how many stalks of celery they're breaking and stuff.
Exactly.
It's like, oh man, there goes a lot of celery. But
Exactly.
I comment on a lot of things like that during movies.
Nice.
But
Well, sounds like we should do a video in the future when we have time, where we both like watch and react to a video or movie at the same time. We'll have to find a way to stream it, and like we'll watch it and react to it. We could be like Mystery Science Theater 3000,
that'd be
but like
awesome.
with kung fu movies.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So, for those of you watching, that could be a future episode with Ryan. So, guys, this was so cool. My first time meeting and chatting with a Facebook viewer. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for discovering us and staying with us on Facebook. I don't upload as much to Facebook as I do on YouTube, just because Facebook, they were paying me pretty well for those videos, but then they stopped. So like the only incentive now is just the audience. It's not like I'm not making that much money off Facebook anyways, but sometimes we try to release because Facebook's a little bit more they're a little bit more lax on some violence, so you could like talk about street fights, whereas on YouTube you can't really do that. So it's like sometimes I try to upload different content onto Facebook, but it just because Facebook doesn't have their act together with their creator program, they just don't have the incentive that YouTube gives its creators. But I still appreciate the fact that when I do upload, I see your comments and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been watching and commenting and stuff because I've had other so much other stuff going on. But I think I'm going to try to get back on that. Especially during the quarantine here, I don't have as much going on, so I can catch up a little bit.
Definitely, dude. Okay, guys. So this was Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for stepping out of your house to talk to me. I know it's probably a little cold outside. I see snow on the ground. So again, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, there's some snow outside, but it ain't cold here. It's like 50. It's like 50 degrees out right now.
All right. So yeah, I'm just comparing to LA. LA's probably like 70 today. So
yeah. For us, this is 50 degrees in early April. It's actually nice out for us.
Wow.
But yeah, I just came outside because I'd have more quiet and less distractions as opposed to
Exactly.
fam.
Cool.
That's stuff.
Well, guys, for those of you watching, if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section. And, I'll bring Ryan back. We'll probably watch some. There's got to be some movie that's like obscure enough or some movie that's public domain enough that we can watch it in its entirety and react to it without like, I'm having to fight a fair use copyright battle. So we'll do that next. So Ryan will be back, man.
Right. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. You take care. Tell your family I said hi.
Yeah. Later.
Awesome. Fight Commentary Breakdowns out.